Now to a new poll revealing increasingly polarized views on Special Counsel Bob Mueller's investigation. 13% of Republicans believe Mueller's investigation is legitimate, while 75% view it as a witch hunt. That's according to an Economist YouGov poll. As for the Democrats, 76% consider Mueller's investigation legitimate. Only 10% believe it's a witch hunt. Let's bring in MSNBC political analyst Jonathan Alter, columnist for the Daily Beast, and conservative commentator Carrie Sheffield, national editor at Accuracy Media and founder of Bold. Why am I not surprised by these numbers, guys? I mean, Carrie, which side of the coin do you fall on? Is it a legitimate investigation or is it a witch hunt?
Look, I would be very interesting to compare how Republicans felt at the very beginning. And from my recollection, Republicans were interested, and I was interested as a conservative. I wanted Bob Mueller to get to the bottom of what happened, and I know he has an impeccable record, and so I supported a legitimate investigation. But I think the longer this is dragged on, and we see reportedly that Mueller was one of the key figures in opening this Stormy Daniels mess, this is way far beyond the bounds of his original confines, which was to investigate collusion from the Russians. That hasn't happened. There's also, the more and more we see obstruction on the part of the FBI as it relates to separation of powers. They are obstructing members of Congress who are trying to get to the bottom of the partisan nature of the Steele dossier, which was the impetus, the genesis of the surveillance of the Trump campaign. So the more we unpeel the layers, the more we see there is a partisan motivation for this investigation, which stemmed from the Clinton dossier.
But Carrie, can it also be the more you peel the layers, the more information you're finding, the more things point to something potentially, and you have to investigate them?
Well, it just seems like there's no there. It seems like the emperor's clothes are just not there.
I mean, look, do you have insight into Bob Mueller? Do you know what he's doing? Do you know what the investigation has? Well, I'm going to say the answer is no, because nobody seems to. Well, but this guy's feeling things close to the vest, so how can you say that it's just there's no there? How do you know conclusively?
Well, I know that there is the presumption of innocence until proven guilty, and so therefore I know that our president is innocent until proven guilty. And we see the indictments that Mueller has made. They have not been related. They have been tangential to the campaign. They're not directly related to the campaign. So in my opinion, according to the tea leaves, the evidence that I see to date, again, the president is innocent.
Okay. You're going to comment on this, I'm sure, Jonathan. And also, I want you to expand on why you think there's such a divide in these views on Bob Mueller's investigation.
Well, just to take that question first, I mean, we're essentially in the middle of a civil Cold War in this country. We're not actually shooting at each other, but we are terribly polarized, at least in our political conversation. When you go out into the middle of the country, even if people have tribal attitudes on the Mueller investigation and break down, as we saw in that poll, most of them are not, as on fire about it as people in Washington, and they're, leading their lives. Nonetheless, this polarization is having really deep effects on us because it's eroding respect for the rule of law. And I think Carrie's comments a moment ago are a good indication of this. Not only is Bob Mueller a Republican, but he has an impeccable record,
as I mentioned,
impeccable reputation for integrity. And I don't think, in all honesty, Carrie, you're in any position to make a judgment or offer, as what you called, an opinion on when his investigation is complete. A year after the Watergate investigation started, a bunch of Republicans came forward and said things like, enough wallowing in Watergate. That was their line. End this investigation. And then they, of course, fired the special prosecutor, Archibald Cox. Nixon did, which we could see in this case because of the drumbeat that we're saying.
Something that's missing in this case, was, again, the impetus for this was supposedly that there was an obstruction of justice on the part of the president by firing Comey, yet Comey told the president repeatedly, and Comey testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee that the president was not under investigation. So by firing Jim Comey, this is not impeding some sort of investigation. That is not obstruction of justice.
We don't know.
So this is very different from Watergate, and so it's offensive for you to make that comparison. It's inaccurate, and it's something that happens in the liberal media over and over again to try to obscure the truth. And that's why middle America, as you mentioned, they are sick of this because it doesn't affect their lives. It doesn't affect their bottom line. It doesn't affect their kitchen table.
Historical comparisons are tough, and they're not always accurate, but you
well, I
are
think the
now...
more accurate one is probably Bill Clinton, because he won re-election because the Republicans were very focused on something, although the difference here was that Bill Clinton was abusing his power by...
I think you're just...
I'm going to let Jonathan finish because we don't have a lot of time.
I think you're wringing your own neck here, Carrie, so I don't really need to say very much, but you're not in any position to make a judgment about when this investigation has run its course, nor is Donald Trump, Mike Pence, or anybody else. Under our system,
well, I know
where we have a rule of law,
proven guilty. We know this, and I am in a position to say that.
There's a presumption of innocence.
Absolutely,
that's absolutely the case. But you seem to be going further than that and suggesting that it's time to wrap up this investigation. And I don't think that either of us is in a position to know what evidence...
I'm just saying, guys, when your investigation is going on a rabbit trail of porn stars, that's probably the end of your trail.
Probably. We don't know.
I think there's good evidence, and I think the American people think that.
In terms of wrapping up the investigation, I can't speak to that. I can't speak to the fact that I got to wrap up this interview, though, because I got to go. Joy Reid's coming in. Michael Avenatti's here. We got to go.